We've got Coors, we've got Cole, we've got DeGrom, we've got ourselves a pretty fun slate on tap for tonight in MLB DFS. We have 11 games, lock at 7:05, and it should be a dandy. So let's talk about it right now. This is the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. My name is Jim Sanas. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions for the next 25 or so minutes, regardless of where you're watching. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you may be, you can hit us up right now and ask some questions about tonight's MLB DFS slate. It can be pitchers, it can be stacks, it can be one-offs, it can be pitchers. Whatever it may be, let us know. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can, and just feel free to ask away because we have plenty of time here, 25 minutes to get to all those questions. So feel free to ask whatever your heart desires. First one here is on YouTube from John. Who is your top high-end pitcher for tonight? Best mid-range pitcher. Thank you so much. Great content. Thank you, John. Okay, so high-end pitcher, give me Garrett Cole, 10-9, facing the Rays. The reason that I have Cole, I thought he was actually on the road. Whoops. The reason I have Cole ahead of DeGrom is that DeGrom has these concerns kind of around the injuries with the neck and with the blisters. So those are at least concerning enough where I'm okay putting Cole higher. Facing a high strikeout team, he's been good his last two starts ever since he decided to change the mechanics. So no lingering concerns around the effectiveness for Garrett Cole. So I'm going to go with Garrett Cole at my number one spot for the top end. For the mid-range, I will go, if we count Lance Lynn as mid-range, I like him a lot. He's facing the Padres, higher strikeout team. I can get behind that for sure. Lance Lynn himself, very good. Tends to go deep into games, just through a complete game at Coors last week. So I'll go Lynn in the mid-range. For a value play, Pablo Lopez. You didn't ask about that, but I'm going to say it anyway because why not? But I like Pablo Lopez, $8,300. He's looked good in his first three starts so far this year, leading into his big, really good changeup. So Pablo Lopez, a guy I like on the lower end. Bryce is saying, "How's your day going?" It's great, Bryce. Thank you. I have a couple of questions. I saw your podcast earlier. Are there any other cheap pitchers that you might think might be good, like Urias for the Dodgers or Hill for the Twins? So Julio Urias, the effectiveness has been down this year. Isn't getting a lot of strikeouts. Let's pull up his numbers here on the sheet. Okay, so Urias is facing the Mariners. So it's a good matchup. We always like that. It's a good park for pitching too, but just a 15% strikeout rate so far this year. So I'm a little bit pushed away from Urias. He's had some high strikeout matchups too, but still not getting them. So I am a little bit lower on him and not super enthused. So Urias, an option because of the matchup, but like if you go based on 2020, which I'm trying to, it's not really there. So you could consider him, but he's not going to be in my player pool for tonight. Rich Hill, I'm worried about pitch count because he's been on the injured list for, I think, since like mid-July now. Let's see here. So he has been on the injured list since July 29th. He threw 68 pitches then. If I were doing a pitch count projection for Rich Hill, I'd probably put it around 60. So that's not enough for me. So I think that for cheaper guys, I like Lopez a lot. I think he's a legit one of the top pitchers of the night. And Glasnow is the other guy I would at least consider. Who is your favorite low-cost bat? Let's go here. I like Luis Garcia. He is $2,300 on FanDuel for tonight, batting sixth again for the Nationals and a team that I would like to stack. So I think that Garcia is definitely someone I am good with turning to. And I think he's $2,300. He fills second base. Kind of checks all the boxes that you want. There is some weather concerns in Atlanta because, it's summer in Atlanta, and there tend to be just pop-up storms. But I'm still in on him. So Garcia for sure. I think that Yan Gomes you could justify, Adam Eaton, pretty much anyone on the Nationals. Then the Twins are also a good value stack for tonight. I don't think their lineup is out yet, but against lefties, they tend to have good value. So Twins and Nationals, the first place I am turning to for cheap hitters. What are your cash game recommendations for pitcher lineups target? So for cash games, I'm leaning towards Lance Lynn right now as my cash game pitcher. The reason I like Lynn is A, he pitches super deep into games. B, he's facing the Padres who are good, but they strike out quite a bit. I know I've gotten hammered by using pitchers against the Padres this year, but Lynn just goes so deep into games that even if he doesn't totally crush it, he can still pay off for DFS. So I think right now I'm on Lance Lynn as my cash game guy. That leaves me 3163 left for the rest of my roster. So building around that from a stacking perspective, I think that I want to go Nationals. And when I go Nationals, I'm going to plug in the value plays because the intention here for me is to, it would help if I spelled correctly, is to stack Coors Field. And when I use some of these cheaper guys on the Nationals, it makes it a lot easier to afford Coors Field. I haven't looked at Yan Gomes' numbers yet. Let me check to see here if I can justify him as a potential cash game play. Batting fifth for an offense that I want to stack. Great matchup for tonight. Yan Gomes, since the start of last year, 30% hard hit rate, 42% fly ball rate, really bad numbers with righties. So I'm going to skip over him and go with Garcia and Adam Eaton and kind of build from there. So the intention for me is to use cheap Nationals batters to get up to the Coors Field stack and stack the Astros. So for cash games, Lynn first and then National stack, see what I can get over at Coors Field. Mateo, I'm stacking the Dodgers and Astros. So what do you think of Paddock for tonight? Paddock is kind of similar to Urias, where the strikeout numbers have been really disappointing so far this year. Paddock, $8,100, definitely a good salary, but just like, I don't know what has been up with him, but for some reason, he just hasn't been getting as many strikeouts as he got in the past. And honestly, like Paddock, from a strikeout perspective previously, wasn't like, as big as perception necessarily. He throws hard, and he's really fun to watch. But like his strikeout rate last year, 27%. It's not huge, down to 21% this year with a 10.1% swinging strike rate. So I think that Paddock's in play because we know the talent is there. But I have concerns around pitch count. That doesn't tend to go super deep into games. I have concerns around the effectiveness right now. That's why I prefer to go with Pablo Lopez. So if you want a cheaper pitcher, I keep talking about him, but I do like him quite a bit. Thoughts on Savali for single entry tournament? Savali is more expensive than I would hope because his numbers, if you look at him overall, like if you look at a decently long sample, they're just kind of okay from a strikeout rate perspective. Now, the reason that he is interesting is because he's facing the Pirates, and the Pirates can make an interesting pitcher look really freaking good because they're really freaking not. So Savali does benefit a lot from that matchup. But this year, an 11% swinging strike rate. His swinging strike rate was even lower last year at 8.8%. So been getting better this year. He's in a good matchup. But I think that if I'm looking at a single entry tournament, I'd rather just go with Lance Lynn. I think people are going to go to Savali because his matchup is better with the Pirates. Like, objectively, it is better. I just like Lynn more because I feel better about the strikeout upside there. So for single entry tournament, I mentioned this on the solo shot, I might actually go Pablo Lopez to get more exposure to Coors Field. We should track the number of times I say Pablo Lopez. So someone keep track of that. It's been like 16 times already. So we'll get to at least 30, I'm sure, by the end. But I think for a single entry tournament, he'd probably be the pitcher I'd turn to there in order to give myself a lot of exposure to Coors Field. But Savali, straight up not bad. Just I rank him below Lance Lynn in that range, and I'd rather spend down for Pablo Lopez as well. Thoughts on Paddock? Talked about that before. Alvin, thoughts on the A's and the Angels stack? Okay, let's take a look at them here. So the Angels, I believe, are in San Francisco. The Angels are in San Francisco, facing Johnny Cueto. Cueto has not been good this year, so the matchup is good for the Angels. I just hate the park. You look at the park factors here. These are from Roto Grinders, and that's for a full season. But San Francisco, when you look specifically at the summer months, is even worse because everywhere else is like in the 80s, whereas San Francisco, I think, is 68 for tonight. So the park factor there is really bad. I like the matchup, so you could go there. I'm not going to go there personally because I hate the park. And it's so rare that I find myself stacking San Francisco. Tonight will not be that night. As far as the Angels, they're facing Merrill Kelly. I like Merrill Kelly. He does allow a lot of balls in play, which is a good thing from a stacking perspective. But I mean, I just think he's good. I don't know if this is like just me being like fanboy-y with Merrill Kelly. But I think he's just kind of good, honestly. So I would probably not go towards the A's personally. Kelly can be solid. They've been striking out more than they should so far this year. And I also think that one is in Oakland too. And it's 76 degrees there. So I'd probably be lower on those two teams, mostly because of park factor for the Angels and partly because of matchup for the A's. Atlanta stack, ? This is from Yevgeny. Okay, so Atlanta here is facing Eric Fetty. Yes, okay, so I think that there are two stacks for tonight that are okay. because of the composition of the slate. This slate is not one that has a ton of stacks that I want to use, which means I have to lower my standards. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but I do have to lower my standards and stack teams that are not in optimal situations. Those two teams are the Braves and the Twins. And the reason that those stacks are not optimal is they're facing ground ball pitchers. Both Eric Fetty and Brett Anderson are ground ball pitchers. And we don't want to stack against ground ball guys because we want dingers. Sell out for them dingers. And you don't get dingers when they're getting ground balls. So that's why it's suboptimal. The reason that I will still go there is that there aren't a ton of tremendous options for tonight from a stacking perspective. And I know that the Twins and Braves will get a lot of balls in play. I am annoyed with the Braves because I don't think that Matt Adams is in the lineup, and I was looking forward to him being back, potentially getting him at $2,400. I don't get that for tonight, and I am sad, I think is the best word to use there. So with no Matt Adams being in there, it does definitely hurt my soul as far as stacking the Braves. But I think that they are still very much an option. Adam Duvall is batting cleanup. He is $2,400. I can definitely get behind that. Johan Camargo is, I think, underrated, I think is the word I would use there. But I think that I would say underrated for Camargo. So he's batting 6th. I think that works too. So I'm in on the Braves. Austin Riley strikes out a ton, but Eric Fetty doesn't get strikeouts. So I think you could go there too. But I'd probably prefer Duvall and Camargo over Riley. So you could use the Braves to get cheaper plays too. So yes, Evgeny, I am in on the Braves as I think my 5th ranked stack. Favorite contrarian stack. This is from Bruce over on Facebook. Okay, let's go over here. So I think Coors is going to be the chalk, as it should be for tonight. So we can kind of assume that most other stacks are going to be less popular. I think the Nationals will probably get some popularity too. The Twins tend to be popular, so I don't think I can go with them as being a contrarian stack. So we might wind up just being the Braves, honestly, as a contrarian stack. Well, I guess that depends on what the bookmaker info is on that one, because bookmaker info tends to drive popularity. And yeah, I guess 5.57 implied total for them. Maybe that actually is the Nationals, because I think that, again, a way to judge what stacks will be popular and thus contrarian in the other sense is by looking at implied totals. People tend to flock towards high implied totals. The Nationals is lower at 4.93, so maybe the Nationals wind up being a contrarian stack. Twins are 4.96. That's also not all that high. So I think it's possible we get both the Nationals and the Twins as being more contrarian stacks. And they're both teams I expect to put the ball in play a lot. So I think that'd probably be the way that I would go there. Danny asks, top stacks outside of Coors Field. I know I just mentioned that the Nationals have the potential to be less popular because of their low-ish implied total. But straight up, outside of Coors Field, they are going to be my number 2 stack for tonight. This is under the assumption you are stacking Coors Field in one half of your lineup. If you don't stack Coors Field, if you, Danny, if you are saying, I don't want to stack Coors Field, then I would say the Dodgers are very interesting. They're facing Taijuan Walker, and Walker is good. He's been solid this year. The problem is that he doesn't get a lot of ground balls and doesn't necessarily get enough strikeouts to counter a team as good as Los Angeles is. So although I believe in Taijuan Walker being a decently good pitcher, I think that the Dodgers are just kind of a really tough task. So I guess it depends on what salary range you're looking at here, Danny. If you can afford to pay the piper and stack the Dodgers, I would say go them. If you can't afford that, I would go Nationals 2. I would go Twins 3 behind that. And I think that the Braves would come next after that. That'd be my ranking as far as the non-Coors Field stacks. Question from Bryce. What about the White Sox and Tigers game? Any good options from there? So I've had a blind spot to this game because, Bryce, I'm so excited to try to watch it. I hope I can tonight because we got Casey Mize, who was a former number 1 overall pick, versus Dane Dunning. And Dunning isn't as high profile of a prospect as Casey Mize, but he's really good. He missed all of last year due to Tommy John. So I think we've kind of let Dane Dunning fly under the radar. But when you look at him before he had Tommy John, dude was dealing. He was really good. His numbers in Double-A in 2018, 26% strikeout rate, a lot of ground balls. And the ground ball right there is the reason why I'm not super into the Tigers. So I would cross the Tigers off. I think you could give some consideration to stacking the White Sox because I think people are going to be excited about Casey Mize making his debut, which they should be, again, because he's really fun. But the reason I think you could justify the White Sox is, A, I think they're a lot better than the Tigers, so their ability to overcome potentially a good pitcher is easier to see in my brain. So I'd say that they're good there, but also Mize, not the biggest strikeout guy, 24% strikeout rate last year in Double-A, 28% in High-A, and now going up to the majors. It sounds like his pitch count will be somewhere around like 70 to 75 pitches, so exposure to the Tigers bullpen, which I don't think has been that bad this year, but I do think that there is some value in checking out the White Sox. They're not near the top of my list because, again, I've got a blind spot. I want to watch this game and enjoy it and not like tilt my face off if the White Sox hit a home run. But I think that straight up there is some value in potentially checking out the White Sox against Mize. From Gregory over on Facebook, top 3 pitchers for tonight. So I'm going to give you a top pitcher in each salary tier, and hopefully that is helpful because it depends on where you want to go. Like if you want to stack Coors Field, here we go again. Pablo Lopez. Let's discuss why I like Pablo Lopez because I haven't really done that yet. So Pablo Lopez, if you look at pitch values from last year, you can go get this via Baseball Savant, look at his whiff rate on his changeup. We can also just go here on FanGraphs since I already had FanGraphs pulled up. It's very convenient to go there. We scroll down to pitch info per 100 pitches. Here we go. Okay. So his changeup has been a good pitch his entire big league career. This is when he was like, I think this was his age 22 season. So when he was really young, the changeup was still crazy effective for Pablo Lopez. This year, his spin rate has gone up on his changeup and on his four-seam fastball, and he's getting a lot of whiffs on that pitch. And what also helps is that he's using that changeup more often. A 31% usage rate on the changeup this year compared to 22% last year. So when you have a good pitch, you throw that good pitch more often, you expect better results. And we've seen Lopez get exactly that so far this year because he has a 28% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate. He's getting a lot of ground balls, which is something he has done his entire career, not letting up hard contact. And this is the big number here. The 17% swing and strike rate, that's a number that stabilizes very quickly. And when you see a 17% swing and strike rate over 3 starts, it doesn't say I should trust this sample, but it says I should be more inclined to take chances on that sample in the hopes that it is stable. And that's what I want to do with Pablo Lopez. He faced the Mets 2 starts ago. They got 4 walks against him compared to 4 strikeouts. So it was not a great outing. And the Mets offense is not one I tend to attack all that often. Despite that, I still think that Pablo Lopez is a really good option for tonight. $8,300 lets you get more exposure to Coors Field. So Pablo Lopez among the cheapish guys is my favorite. Mid-range, Lance Lynn. Talked about him already. And at the top end, Garrett Cole. I think that Garrett Cole actually is a bit underpriced at 10.9. I think that's actually like an advantageous number. So I do think that Garrett Cole, where he's at, is my top end guy. If you can get there, like if you're not going Coors Field, I would say Garrett Cole is worth it. So Lopez at the low end, Lynn in the middle tier, Garrett Cole on the top end. And again, if you're giving me one lineup, I think right now in a tournament, I think I'm going with Pablo Lopez there. Question over on YouTube. I know the Diamondbacks are under a 4 total, but thoughts on trying to sneak in a Marte or Walker or a punt with Carson Kelly got to be low popularity. Okay, so let's talk about the Diamondbacks here. Jesus Luzardo. Jesus Luzardo is really good, so that's probably why the total is really low. I don't think it should be as low as it is. So maybe you want to actually bet the over on that one. Actually, no, I don't like the weather, so just kidding. The weather there is part of the reason why the total is low, but Luzardo, if you look at his first couple of starts this year, it's been just kind of okay. So maybe that gives you wiggle room to go with the Diamondbacks. I think their numbers against lefties are pretty good. Yeah, 107 WRC plus since the start of last year versus lefties. So I think you could do that, and I would agree with your assessment that they're probably not going to be all that popular. The reason that I'm hesitant is that I think that Jesus Luzardo is legitimately super talented. You'll see that his numbers here are with 2 relief outings, but those were long-ish relief outings, so I still trust his numbers despite the fact that some of them have come in relief, and he has a 13.4% swing and strike rate. So he's looked really good. He has let up a lot of hard contact. So again, I think you have the wiggle room. I think your name is Trent. If you want to go with the Diamondbacks, maybe go that way. But for me personally, I won't, just because I have a lot of respect for Jesus Luzardo. So that's what's chasing me off in addition to the weather there. Question from Donna. Is it okay to play a chalky stack in a tournament? I'm confused with cash games and tournament stacks. Thanks. Yes, so good question here, because I think I do need to do a better job of talking more about cash games versus tournaments. So I think the way that I would think about this is that every offense can fail, and the odds that an offense fails are higher than the odds that a pitcher fails. And as a result of that, it means that we should want to stay away from high popularity stacks in tournaments, because any offense can fail. And if 30% of people are loading up on every Astros hitter, then you're going to want to stay away. The reason I think you can still have a lot of wiggle room to go with a popular stack in a tournament is that you can use less popular pitcher or less popular hitters within that stack. So let's see if the Astros lineup is out here, because I think that they are the best example of this for tonight. No lineup yet. Dusty Baker tends to be pretty good about those, so I bet actually, no, there's only 4 minutes left, but you should get an Astros lineup pretty soon. But what I would do, let's pull up their projected lineup here over on numberFire. Scroll down to the Astros. I would try to identify players you think will be less popular within this Astros stack. So Springer, Bregman, they're going to be popular. I think that because Reddick is going to be so cheap, I would say that he probably will be pretty popular. But if we jump down to the bottom of the order here, Abraham Toro, pretty talented hitter. I could see him potentially being a bit overlooked. Jose Altuve is probably going to bat 7th again for them, and he's $3,900. So I don't think people are going to be super enthusiastic about Jose Altuve when they could instead go to guys like Bregman, Springer, Correa, Gurriel. So I think that what you do, Don, is if you want to use a popular stack in a tournament, is try to find less popular ways to get there. Try to identify the hitters who will be most popular and deviate from that. And I think that's a way you can still go at the stack. But in general, there is a lot of incentive to not use a top stack in tournaments. It's harder for me tonight because there aren't a lot of stacks that I do like. So I think that you're playing a single entry tournament. In a single entry tournament, I would still be stacking the Astros for tonight just because it's hard for me to find a lot of good alternatives. But in general, you do want to try to find alternatives because the incentives to deviate elsewhere are pretty high for tournaments. So hopefully that answered your question. If I was vague or said something weird, let me know. Or if I was unclear about that, let me know, because I think it's a good topic, as always, to think about when you're filling out a single entry tournament lineup, is trying to find ways to be different without being dumb. It's a tough balance to walk for sure. Question from Gregory. Dinger call of the night. Okay. This is a tough one. I'm probably going to go with a Nationals hitter. I think that Soto is too easy, so let's go to the Nationals here. Look at them versus righties and see what we have. I think A.J. Pollock's a pretty good dinger pick for tonight if he winds up playing. But if we're going to go Nationals, this is tough. This is tougher than I thought it was going to be. I want to go Trey Turner. Like, straight up, it'd be Soto. But, like, that's also really boring. I'm going to go Trey Turner because I think people think of him as being, like, the steals-only guy, but his bat's pretty good, too. And I know the steals haven't been there either this year for Turner, but the bat's pretty good, so I'll go with Trey Turner. I think that A.J. Pollock's a good, like, under-the-radar type home run pick for tonight, too. So let's go that way. A.J. Pollock and Trey Turner as the picks for tonight. Arnett is asking, top 2 outfielders, if we are considering salary here, which I would assume that we are. I'm trying to find one specific person. Marwin Gonzalez is third base. Can't go there because I would like him quite a bit. Let's just go to outfield. Let's just make this easy on myself. So a Springer, like straight up, is going to be the number 1 outfielder because he's $4,100, which is underpriced for Coors Field. So I would say as long as he plays, Springer would be there. I like Josh Reddick relative to salary, and I do like Kyle Tucker as well because they've been seeming to have more faith in him. So I would say pick your favorite 2 Astros outfielders based on whatever the lineup is once it comes out, they'll probably be my top 2 outfielders for tonight. So that's where I would skew there. But the Astros, I think the top stack, your best outfielder is going to come from that team. That is all the time that we have for today. Do want to thank you all once again for tuning in. We are back here again tomorrow morning with the solo shot. That is at 9 a.m. Eastern, top 3 pitchers, stacks, and things to watch for the slate. And it is a pretty fun slate for tomorrow. Let's see here. What do we got? Oh, Shane Bieber and Sonny Gray. So come for Shane Bieber and Sonny Gray because they are on tomorrow's slate. Should be a whole lot of fun. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Remember to subscribe wherever you're watching this. Tune back in tomorrow. Ask more questions. But good luck for tonight. We'll see you then. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.